When I first started out, I really struggled. I became so stressed, I cried a lot, and I was exhausted a lot of the time. I had my first client complain, and it felt like the world was ending. It wasn't like vet school where you had the comfort of someone's guidance, and it's like I had to learn the rules all over again, and I couldn't understand why I was so bad at it.
The vet job is very difficult. Like, obviously you can see on social media, there's lots of compassion fatigue, people leaving the job, the profession. The industry and profession has evolved into something that's not really within our control. And the pay, the nature of the job, the stressors, some things are just out of our control. But there's actually a lot of things that we can control, and we can be proactive, and it is our responsibility to take control of our narrative to make it a really enjoyable job, because there are good parts about it, and I hope I can share them with you today. First, we'll go through the mindset shifts that helped me, and through each one, I'll list some practical tips and phrases that really helped me when I started out on the job, and I really hope they will help you too. So the first mindset shift is that you'll be really bad at it, but then you'll be good. So get rid of that perfectionist mindset now. I know that people who get into vet school or medical school tend to be high achievers, they work hard, they study hard to get the grades, entry into the exam. Therefore, they tend to be quite self-critical of themselves. They are high achievers, they aim for the top, they aim to be perfectionists. But when it comes to the realities of the job, transitioning from university to the job, things are very different, okay? And you really need to get that perfectionist mindset out of your head. No one's going to be great at it at the first time, so why are you being so hard on yourself when you are your first day or first week on the job? Okay, so if you want some practical tips to help you prepare before starting your job, I would highly recommend practicing your communication skills. And I know this sounds a little bit wishy-washy, but here's what I actually mean. It took me a while to gain the confidence to speak to owners on the phone. I know it's very like millennial or Gen Z, because these days we use email, we text, we don't really speak on the phone, so picking up a phone and speaking to a stranger can be a little bit daunting. But like everything, it is a muscle. So I want you to practice calling a restaurant and booking a reservation, or calling a shop to see if they're open or not. Just practice this skill and get rid of that fear, because when you're on the phone to owners and clients, you will come across people who are not necessarily very happy with you. They're very stressed or sad because their pet is facing a difficult condition, and you have to be confident on the phone and actually communicate very clearly. I mean, the way to go around it is obviously you can call the owners to come into the practice, then you can talk to them about the case. But most of the time, people communicate over the phone. So if you want to get a head start and practice a skill, practice that skill. Second tip to help you prepare before starting your job is practice your decision-making skills. And what I mean by this is that when you are on placements with the vet, try to figure out what the next steps are before you see what the vet does. So for example, when you look at the diary list of your placement and you see a case described, so Fluffy is coming in, owner reports drinking more. So in your head you think, okay, Fluffy is a cat and Fluffy is 15 years old. So drinking more, what kind of conditions or what kind of questions? Start thinking in your head, have your little notebook and write down the type of history questions that you would want to ask the owners. Practice that, so when you go into the consult with the vet, when you're shadowing them, you can just see what the vet is actually asking them, see whether it fits, whether you're on the right track on the things that you want to ask. And then also after the history and things, make a few notes on, okay, what diagnostic tests I would plan to get this owner to do, what's my differentials, start thinking about this, because I know when you're on placement, sometimes you keep being so focused on wanting to do the practical stuff like placing IVs, taking bloods, and then you tend to forget that actually there's a whole lot of organizing your thoughts, decision making, clinical history taking. These are the important skills you need to do as well. And I know I have been there when I was a vet student. I would just focus on trying to look awake and also be proactive to ask questions, but I didn't actually think about the case specifically and start building that database of cases, of that knowledge of what are the common conditions you see in the practice. So I would highly recommend that. Second mindset shift is when you are a new grad vet, even now actually, remember that you are only human, your brain is a sieve, and you will likely not remember everything. And I don't care how good you scored in your test or exam, where you remembered all the facts and things. In the job, what tends to happen is that you start your day, you have your list of consults. However, you will get bombarded with a lot of questions from your receptionist saying that, oh, this client is asking this quick question, can you answer it? Or your nurse is saying like, oh, you need to review these blood test results and call this owner back. Or yourself, making a note, this owner has requested more information on cytopoint injections, for example, and you need to sort that out. So you have so many little jobs, and you also need to bear in mind you have to see consultations or go into surgery. I know it's a lot of things and it can be overwhelming. However, there are so many tools at your disposal to use, and one of it is if you have a phone, on your notes app, just make a quick note on, okay, I have to do this by this date, reply to Fluffy by 4 p.m. This is when the owner said that they are free for a phone call. And also use your computer diary. So if you have your diaries where you have all your consultant things, there should be a column that says like diary actions, so make full use of that so that you won't forget. I know you may think, oh, I'll definitely remember this, I'll just do this after lunch, but no, by the time in the next hour you may get 5 new jobs. So make sure you stay on top of them, stay on top of your blood results by using the diary. And a really good tip I like to use is that, so today I've taken a blood test from Fluffy. I tell the owners, okay, we have to send this specific profile away. They take like 3 to 5 days to come back. I'll call you by next week. So as I'm saying that to the owner, I said, let me just book in a call to call you on this date. As you say that, go to your diary and click the next date, in 7 days from today, for example, and copy and paste that patient's case there. So then you remember, okay, I have to report that. Because sure, you may think that you will remember it, but sometimes things slip through the net, because one day you see 20 to 24 patients. That's crazy. You're gonna get so many different results and different things, so try to stay on top of them using your tools. Another good thing I like to do in a consult is when the owners are telling me the history of the pet, I would say, okay, just to summarize, you've mentioned this and this, can I just write this down? And then 9 times out of 10, they're very understanding. They'll happily let you type things down. And it's important to tell them what you're doing so that you don't just like face your computer and type the notes and seem like you're not interested in helping their pet at all, but actually you're trying to remember all the facts and informations. They don't know that, so make sure you tell them that. Same goes for clinical exam. So you may check everything, check the heart, check the temperature. You have all these values in your head like heart rate, rest rate, temperature, and you want to write it down. I like to do this and say, tell the owners that, okay, so let me just quickly write all of the findings down, and when you type it on a computer, you have a few seconds of silence, and that also helps you organize your thoughts in your head and being like, okay, the temperature is 40s, our heart rate is low, things like that, and like, what should I do next? And then once you've done that, turn to the owner and say, okay, so we have this, we could do this to investigate or treatment trial, or this is what I'm worried about. So use that as your tool. So yeah, communicate it to the owners. Third mindset shift is that you and the pet owner are a team. Okay, I know lots of people complain about clients being very difficult, very demanding, or they don't understand, I hate consulting because I just can't deal with owners. The news flash is that is your job. You are there to help the pet owner and also the pet, obviously, but they come together. There's no running away from it. Unless you do a surgery specialist, a residency or whatever, and then you only see the patient on the operating table, sure. But most of the time, you still have to speak to the pet owner. Having that mindset shift of you and the pet owner are working together as a team, you're not against each other, you are achieving a common goal, have that collaborative mindset. It will make your job a whole lot easier because you and the pet owner are on the same side. In terms of practical tips, what I mean is that it shows that you are actually genuinely interested in helping them and the pet, and it shows through your phrasing and your words. So there has been a few articles on this where, vet med in the past tends to be, the vet just tells the pet owner what to do. But now pet owners are more internet savvy, they look up all the information and they come to you with, some evidence and things, which I generally encourage. I'm always keen to know, what pet owner has tried, whether or not it's something they are familiar with, the medical terms and things. And I'm really impressed by some of the pet owners who, look into seizure medications way advanced before we examine the pet. So, that's useful. So communication tips to telling the owners about their options and also getting them to make a decision together with you. So shared decision making is like a key term. I like to say, okay, so option 1 is this, we can trial some medication, and if that does not work, we strongly recommend option 2, which is looking into blood tests and scans, and then telling the owner, what are your thoughts on our plan? How do you want to proceed? You get 2 types of pet owners. One will say, oh, I would like to do this, and then if not, I will bring my pet back, and then we can check her again. Fine, you can go with what the owner has chosen, because this is what you discuss. The second type of pet owner, they tend to be ones that are like, oh, I'll just go by whatever you recommend, which is good as well. So you can just recommend the best thing for their pet and then they're happy. But the main thing is, once you've gone through all the options, they've decided, then you can say, okay, so how do you feel about our plan? So the key term is like our plan, so that they know that this is the decision that you've made together. Another quick tip, talking about finances as well as a new grad, because you will be the one telling them how much things cost. So what I like to say is that this is our concerns for Fluffy. We're really concerned about her skin issues. And now I'm going to tell you about the options that we have available to treat her condition. And I'll tell you the estimated cost as well. Is that okay? And then they'll say, okay, and then you go through option 1. This steroid medication for 2 weeks will be this cost. And then this other medication, which is better than steroids because it has less side effects, will cost this. And then, that way they are aware of what are the costs involved, because I think, side topic, but cost is a huge issue when we are doing our consultations, and also what pet owners mostly complain about. So it's good to make sure that everyone's on the same page, they know what options they have and what costs are involved. Okay, so that's it for the mindset shifts. Lastly, I want to touch on things that I do for my mental health as a vet that I found was crucial in the first few months of my job. And then the last part is about clinical tips and resources that are very nice and quick to have on the side when you need to look things up really quickly. So the mental health part is, I would encourage you to keep a happy folder. So I first heard of this idea by some other vets. I can't remember actually where now, but basically you have a happy folder where you keep all the little wins that you have and you have achieved during your progress starting out as a new vet. So things like client comments, positive interactions, feedback from your line managers, and also little wins like doing that cat spay for the first time or doing that splenectomy for the first time, things like this, so that you have positive things to look back on, and also documentation for yourself to see how far you have come in your journey as a vet. The reason why I encourage this is that as human beings, we tend to remember negative traumatic events really clearly compared to the neutral, positive and calm events in our daily lives. If you have a day full of consultations, 80% of the time you get good ones, and then 20% of the time you may get a bit of interesting clients or some client disagreements. And then at the end of our day, even though we had 80% of good clients, we only remember that one client that really got on our nerves and was very unreasonable, and we felt really upset, and we end up spending the whole night thinking about that one client that disagreed with us, and we're thinking that what could I have done better, why are they so mean, do I really want to be a vet anymore, things like that. So to avoid yourself spiraling just because of that one single client that ruined your day, it's nice to look back on your happy folder and then just look it through, like, oh, that Chihuahua I saw the other day, the owner was so sweet, they brought in some cookies just to thank us for looking after him. Obviously, there are nice cases as well that you can keep, like, oh, I did a really thorough workup on this interesting infectious disease case, it's something that I'm really proud of. Hold on to these little things and document it, because as I said, your brain is a sieve, you won't remember things as clearly, so it's best to use your tools to write things down. And it's also a nice log to look back and say like, oh, I made such good things. And it will also build your confidence and your self-esteem. So if you think of it as like a portfolio of confidence, I definitely took this idea from somewhere in the internet, but it's nice to have this happy folder, logging in your skills, positive interactions, and also use it to build your portfolio of confidence. And if you're really struggling to find these little wins, even better, you can just ask your line manager for feedback, and whether it's positive or negative, both feedbacks are great for you to build on, what skills you need to improve, and also if it's positive, feeling good that you are doing a good job. Again, I feel like people who get into this profession tend to be very critical of themselves and high achievers, wanting things to be perfect every time. So it's important to have these little tools to help you realize that you are doing your best. Lastly, clinical tips, some resources for quick fact-finding when you can't access your notes. So the BSAVA formulary, great one. The app on your phone, super quick to find doses for your medications, things like that. And it's also really good to look at the contraindications, any adverse reactions, because owners will often ask, and then you can go through them by saying, okay, let me just quickly look it up on my phone, and then we can go through them together. Or if you want to use it on the computer, typing in the medication and NOAH, so the NOAA formulary, is also quite good to access. If your client wants more information about a certain type of disease, for example, atopic dermatitis, instead of typing it all out and then sending it to them, you can use websites like Vet Lexicon, Vin. These websites, they have easy to digest information that you can send a link or email the link to clients or even print it out. I'm not sponsored by any of these websites or companies. It's just really useful things that I feel everyone should know about. Other websites that I like to look at when doing more research for cases is the ACVIM consensus statements, if it's conditions such as IMHA, medicine type cases, or if it's like general refresher of certain things, looking at anemia. For example, you can go for Today's Veterinary Practice or Clinician's Brief. For small animal medicine, that's really useful. For exotics, just like the basics, La Ferber Vet is a really good website as well. And also, if you want to communicate to owners common topics like canine arthritis, the Canine Arthritis Management UK website is a very useful one. As you go along on your journey as a vet, you'll tend to realize that there's lots of different useful websites that you can go to for a quick refresher of your knowledge. Okay, so that's it from me for today. I really hope you enjoyed this short video, and let me know what tip you found helpful. And if you are a new grad or if you are a vet that wants to share some knowledge, please comment below what tip has really helped you starting out as a vet and also continue to enjoy your job as a vet. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. So first mindset shift. Get rid of that perfectionist.